Long before the villagers could woke, Donkor had already left home. Not with a goodbye, not with a map, but with a question that had haunted his dreams for years. Is there a woman wise enough to walk beside me, not behind me? At night, the village fires crackled with stories of love and magic, of women who healed with their words and men who ruled with iron. But Donkor wanted something different to partner, not a prize. So when the moon rose full and fierce, he packed only his courage and stepped into the unknown. What he didn't know was that the world was waiting with riddles, with danger, and with a woman whose fire matched his own. Let's sit and enjoy the story. Please remember to subscribe. In the dusty heart of a village in Ghana, full of green arms of cocoa plantations and the distant drumming of talking drums, there lived a man named Donkor. His skin was the deep brown of fertile earth, his shoulders broad as the logs used to build the village drum platform, and his laughter rang out like kente cloth flapping in the breeze. Yet for all his strength and kindness, Donkor bore a silent wound. He could not find a wife. It was not for lack of trying. Donkor had once danced with the village maidens during the yam festival, beating his chest and stamping his feet until the dust rose like spirit smoke. He had carried buckets for women at the river. He'd helped the elders repair huts, split firewood, and hunt bushmeat. But no woman in his village seemed to wish to marry him. Some whispered that perhaps Donkor was cursed. Others said he was too picky, his standards towering higher than the baobab trees. As the seasons turned, Donkor felt the weight of eyes upon him. The elders called him to the council fire one evening as the sun bled red behind the palm trees. "Donkor," said Nana Kwaku, his voice as cracked as old gourds. "You are of age. Your father's ghost looks down and asks why there are no children bearing his name." The other elders murmured agreement, their beards shimmering silver in the firelight. Donkor lowered his gaze, stirring the dust with his toes. "I have searched, Nana, but I have not found the woman my spirit calls wife." "Then search further," said Nana Kwaku sternly. "A man's life is not only his own, it belongs to his ancestors and his children yet unborn." Donkor's heart thudded like a talking drum. That night he sat under the stars, listening to the wind whisper secrets through the leaves. The owl hooted thrice-a-sign, the elders said, of journeys to come. Donkor clenched his fists and made a vow beneath the ancient sky. "I will find my wife, even if I must walk to the ends of the earth." So, at dawn, he packed his few belongings: a carved wooden stool, a calabash for water, a knife polished like the moon, and slung his cloth over one shoulder. He left his village as the rooster crowed and the scent of millet porridge curled through the air. As he passed the edge of the village, old Mansa, the village herbalist, called after him. Her eyes were milky with age, but her voice held iron. "Donkor, beware. Not every beautiful face hides a good heart. And sometimes the woman you seek stands right where you began." Donkor nodded solemnly. He stepped onto the winding red dirt road, his footprints swallowed by the rising sun. Thus began Donkor's journey quest through villages of laughing women and shadowy forests, across deserts and kingdoms, toward a destiny he could not yet see. The drumbeats of fate echoed in his ears, and the wind carried his name far into the world beyond. Donkor's legs ached as he trekked along the winding red road. Each step kicked up dust that clung to his skin like a second layer. Birds called overhead, and sometimes he thought they whispered secrets about his lonely quest. He slept under silk cotton trees and woke to the chatter of monkeys swinging through the branches. On the 7th day of travel, he came upon a village whose entrance was marked by towering carved poles, each one etched with faces locked in laughter. Beyond the gates, the village buzzed with music, chatter, and above Alator that seemed to float through the air like drifting pollen. "Ah, the village of laughing women," Donkor murmured, recalling tales told around fires back home. He entered the square, where dancers spun in cloths dyed brilliant blue and orange. Drums boomed, rattles shook, and voices sang in harmony. A circle of women clapped and moved with grace, laughter echoing like the call of a river bird. One woman in the circle caught Donkor's eye. She was tall and slender, with skin the colour of polished ebony. Her hair was braided with beads that clicked as she moved, and her smile could have lit the darkest cave. Donkor drew in a sharp breath. "Ah, who is that beautiful flower among the dancers?" he whispered to a nearby old man leaning on a stick. "That is Ama," said the elder, eyes twinkling. "She is the laughter of this village. Men come from far and near to seek her hand, but she has chosen none." Courage thrummed in Donkor's chest. He stepped closer to the dancing women. When the drumming paused, he cleared his throat and bowed low. "Greetings, beautiful ones," he said. "I am Donkor, a traveller from afar. I seek a woman of laughter and light to share my life. Might I speak with you, Ama?" The circle fell silent. Ama stopped mid-step, blinking her coal-lined eyes. A hush rippled outward, but then a high, sharp giggle burst from Ama's lips. "Hey, look at this one," she exclaimed, pointing. "See how dusty he is? See how his feet are cracked from the road? A man comes empty-handed and dares to seek the heart of Ama." The women erupted in laughter, slapping their thighs, tears rolling down their cheeks. Donkor swallowed. He straightened his shoulders and said, "Beauty fades, riches come and go, but laughter and loyalty remain. I have little, but my heart is pure." Ama cocked her head. "Pure? A pure man would not ask a woman to leave her village for a life of uncertainty. Tell me, Donkor, if the pot is empty, how will it boil soup for a wife?" The women roared louder. One leaned close and whispered, "Poor man. Ama wants a man who brings gold, not riddles." Donkor's throat tightened. He tried one last time. "Ama, perhaps we could walk and speak. I have travelled far, and But Ama waved a slender hand dismissively. "I have no time for beggars or dreamers. Go, stranger. Find your laughter elsewhere." The drums started again, drowning his voice. Women danced around him as though he were invisible. Donkor's cheeks burned. He turned and pushed his way through the crowd. "Travel well, dusty man," one woman called after him, laughter chasing his footsteps out of the village gates. Outside, Donkor sat beneath a tree, his chest heavy. The old man he'd spoken to earlier hobbled over and settled beside him. "Ah, young one," the old man sighed. "Ama's laughter is bright, but her heart is locked behind pride. Go on, your story does not end here." Donkor nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. "I will keep searching. Somewhere a woman waits for me." He rose, gripping his staff, and continued down the red road, the sound of laughter fading into the breeze behind him. The forest grew darker as Donkor ventured further from the village of laughing women. Sunlight slanted through leaves, dappling the path in patches of gold. Birds fell silent, and the air smelled of damp earth and old secrets. By dusk, Donkor arrived at Besiz, a village hidden among towering trees. Thick incense curled around its huts, and strange symbols were painted on doorposts. He staggered to a stop in the clearing, throat dry. A woman emerged from the shadows. She wore cloth patterned in indigo and gold, and around her waist hung charms made of feathers, bones, and glass beads. Her eyes shimmered like twin pools of oil catching the sun. "Stranger," she purred, voice as smooth as silk, "you look weary. Come into my hut. Eat. Rest." Donkor hesitated. The woman's beauty was like fire bright, alluring and dangerous. "I thank you, good woman," he said cautiously, "but who are you?" "I am Advoa," she replied, smiling, "daughter of Nananyame, the village healer. Sit, let me feed you." Donkor's stomach rumbled, betraying him. He followed her into a hut draped in cloth dyed a deep indigo. Inside, shelves held calabashes filled with powders, herbs, and tiny carved figures. A sweet but strange scent hung heavy in the air. Adwo ladled steaming stew into a wooden bowl and handed it to Donkor. "Eat," she said, eyes never leaving his face. "You have come far. Tell me your story." Donkor tasted the stew, which was rich with spice and meat. He sighed with relief as warmth spread through him. "I search for a wife," he said, "but my journey has been filled with laughter, rejection, and disappointment. None of the women I've met is the one my spirit seeks." Adwoa leaned closer, her breath warm against his cheek. "Perhaps your search ends here. You seek beauty, loyalty, wisdom. All these live within me." Donkor blinked. "Truly? But we've only just met." Adwoa touched his chest lightly. "Sometimes the spirits speak faster than words." Suddenly, the hut seemed to darken. The flickering lamp cast twisted shadows on the walls. Adwoa's eyes glowed faintly green. She began to chant in a low, rhythmic tone. "Roots of silk, spirits of sand, bind this man with unseen hand." Donkor's head spun. Thick vines burst from the floor, snaking around his ankles and wrists, pulling him back into his chair. "What are you doing?" he shouted, struggling against the tightening vines. Adwoa's face shifted. Her smile twisted into a cruel sneer. "Foolish man, you seek a wife? You shall be my servant forever." Donkor's heart pounded. He remembered the charm given to him by old Mansa, the herbalist back home. With trembling fingers, he fished the small amulet from his pouch and pressed it to his chest. "By the spirits of my ancestors, release me," he bellowed. A blinding white light burst from the amulet. Adwoa screamed, clawing at her eyes. Her shape melted like wax, shrinking into a black cat with green eyes. The cat hissed, leapt through the doorway, and vanished into the night. The vines slithered away. Donkor fell to his knees, gasping. Outside, the moon glowed through the trees. He stumbled into the clearing and dropped to sit under a tree, shaking. "Not every beautiful face hides a good heart," he murmured. He stared up at the stars. "I must be more careful." He rose again, determined to continue. Somewhere ahead lay the woman meant for him, and no witch or spirit would stand in his way. Donkor's sandals were worn thin by the time he climbed the winding path toward a village perched high upon a forested hill. Night was falling as he reached the gates, and the moon rose round and luminous, casting silver light across the rooftops. He entered cautiously, his ears catching the gentle rustling of silk and the soft slap of bare feet upon the earth. Ahead, in a wide clearing, women draped in flowing silver cloths danced in slow, swirling circles. Their movements were graceful and measured, arms lifted as if offering prayers to the heavens. The air vibrated with soft drumming, punctuated by the soft ring of ankle bells. Lanterns hung from tall poles, their flames flickering in rhythm with the dance. "Ah, the village of the moon dancers," Donkor whispered to himself. "My mother spoke of this place, a village where women worship the moon and secrets lie hidden in silver shadows." He stood mesmerized by the dancers, until his eyes were drawn to one woman in particular. She danced at the center of the circle, moving with a grace so fluid she seemed carved from moonlight itself. Her silver cloth shimmered around her slender form, and her long hair was gathered with white cowrie shells. Her face, when she turned toward him, was gentle and serene. An elder woman noticed Donkor and beckoned him forward. "Stranger," she said, voice soft as the rustle of leaves, "who are you, and why do you stare upon our sacred dance?" Donkor bowed deeply. "I am Donkor, traveller from afar. I seek a wife, and I have come in search of the woman whose heart matches mine." The elder tilted her head. "Then speak with Afia, our moon priestess. If there is one who might capture your heart, it is she." The dance slowed and eventually ceased, leaving only the whisper of the night breeze. Afia stepped toward Donkor, eyes shining like stars reflected on water. "Stranger," she said, her voice clear as bells, "why do you seek me?" Donkor took a deep breath. "Afia, I have journeyed far across forests, rivers, and deserts. I have faced rejection, mockery, and even sorcery, but when I saw you dance, my spirit stirred. I believe you may be the woman I seek." A quiet hush fell over the gathered villagers. Afia studied his face, her expression unreadable. She touched his arm gently. "Donkor," she said, "your words are brave, but my path is bound to the moon. I am the moon priestess. My spirit belongs to the goddess above. To marry would break my vows. The moon would turn her face from my village, and crops would wither under her wrath." Donkor blinked, struggling to speak. "But don't you wish for love, a family, children to carry your name?" Afia's eyes glistened as though dew clung to her lashes. "Every woman's heart longs for such things. But I was chosen when I was a child. My dance holds the moon in the sky. My prayers bring rain. If I abandon my duty, my people would suffer." The elder stepped beside Afia. "The moon priestess carries the burden for all of us. It is a path of sacrifice." Donkor bowed his head, his chest aching. "Then I cannot take you from your people." Afia stepped closer and pressed a small charm into his hander, silver disc engraved with the image of a crescent moon. "Keep this, Donkor," she said. "It is a token of my blessing. May the moonlight guide you toward the woman who is truly yours." He held the charm to his chest. "Thank you, Afia. May the moon continue to shine on you." And so, beneath the silver glow, Donkor turned away. His heart was heavy yet filled with admiration for Afia's strength. He descended the hill, leaving the village behind as the women resumed their dance, silver cloth swirling like waves beneath the moon. After leaving the moon dancers, Donkor journeyed south toward the coast. the scent of salt carried on the breeze, mingling with the aroma of roasted fish. He reached a town famed for its painted houses, each one bright with patterns of red, blue, and yellow, like Kenti cloth laid upon the earth. The town bustled with merchants calling out prices, drummers beating rhythms for passing traders, and women balancing towering baskets upon their heads. Donkor stepped carefully through the crowd until he saw her. She moved through the marketplace as though the crowd parted for her alone. Her steps were light, her laughter musical. But what caught Donkor's eye most was the golden anklet encircling her left ankle. Each step made the tiny bells on it jingle sweetly. Donkor felt a pang in his chest. He followed her, weaving through the crowd, until he finally gathered the courage to call out, "Good woman, wait!" She turned, revealing a face both youthful and wise, with eyes like dark honey, and a smile that crinkled the corners of her eyes. "Yes, stranger," she said. "Why do you follow me?" "My name is Donkor. I have searched across many lands for a wife whose heart shines bright. Might I learn your name?" She lifted a brow, amusement dancing in her eyes. "My name is Ezzy." "Ezzy," Donkor repeated, tasting the name like sweet palm wine. "I see your anklet, glimmering like sunlight on the river. Are you free to marry?" Ezzy chuckled, shaking her head gently. "My anklet is a sign of promise, Donkor. I am betrothed." Donkor's shoulders sagged. "Betrothed? To whom?" "To the chief of Adan Sea," Isi replied. "He sends gifts of gold and silk to my family. The wedding is in 3 moons. Before Donkor could answer, the sound of royal drums thundered through the square. Villagers stepped aside as a tall man approached on horseback, adorned in cloth of gold, eyes sharp as a hawk's. Guards flanked him, their spears gleaming. "Essie," the chief boomed. "Who is this man speaking with you?" Essie opened her mouth, but the chief held up a hand. He glared at Donkor. "Stranger, how dare you address the woman who will soon be my wife?" Donkor bowed low. "Great chief, I meant no offense. I merely wished to know if she was free." The chief's eyes narrowed. "Men like you come seeking women above your station. Leave this place, lest my guards remove your tongue." The guards stepped forward, spears lowered. Donkor raised his hands. "I go, mighty chief. Peace upon you and your bride." Easy met Donkor's eyes one last time, sorrow flickering in her gaze. "May you find the wife you seek, traveller." Donkor turned and fled through the marketplace as the guards gave chase. He darted between stalls of dried fish, pots of red pepper, and bolts of cloth until he lost them among the crowd. When he reached the outskirts of the town, he rested beneath a palm tree, chest heaving. "Even the woman with the golden anklet is promised to another," he muttered. "Will my journey never end?" He pressed Afia's moon charm to his lips and closed his eyes, praying silently for guidance. Then, rising once more, he set his feet upon the road, determined to keep searching. Donkor walked for many days, driven by a quiet fire in his chest. His sandals were now nearly worn to threads, but still he pressed on, passing villages that smelled of roasting yams and fresh palm wine. He reached the edge of a great plain where the grass waved in gold and green under the wind. At its centre he saw tall acacia trees clustered like elders in council, and heard voices lifted in song. He stepped into the clearing and gasped. Men and women sat in a wide circle, each holding drums, koras, or flutes. One man stood in the centre, singing verses so swift and clever that the crowd shouted with delight. Ah, griots, Donkor breathed, remembering the tales his mother told, keepers of the stories of the people. The singing man finished with a flourish. The crowd clapped and stamped their feet. Then the griot turned and saw Donkor at the edge of the clearing. "Stranger," he cried, "come join our circle. All are welcome in the land of the griots." Donkor stepped forward, bowing respectfully. "My name is Donkor. I am a traveller seeking a wife, but my journey has been difficult." The griot, a lean man with a beard peppered grey, motioned him closer. "Sit, Donkor. I am Kofi, son of Kwaku, the storyteller. Tell us your troubles." In speaking them aloud, we ease the burden. Donkor lowered himself onto a mat woven with bright patterns. The others leaned in, eager as hungry birds. And so he spoke of Amma, and the laughter that cut like a blade, of Adwa who turned into a cat, of Afia, the moon priestess, and of Essie with the golden anklet. When he finished, silence fell over the circle. Kofi stroked his beard. "Ah, Donkor, you seek not only a wife, but one whose spirit sings with yours. Such a woman is rare, as the ivory tusk without a blemish." One woman griot piped up, her voice sharp and musical. "A man who can solve riddles, Donkor, may yet win a worthy bride. For there is a kingdom far from here, ruled by a mighty king. In that kingdom there lies a riddle no man has solved for 1,000 years. Whoever answers it shall marry the daughter of the wealthiest merchant." Donkor blinked. "1,000-year riddle?" Kofi nodded gravely. "Men have tried, many have failed and gone mad from the effort. But you have a clever mind. Stay with us, learn the ways of riddles and words. They are weapons sharper than any blade." Donkor's eyes shone. "Will you teach me, Kofi?" The griot clapped him on the back. "From this day you are my apprentice." And so Donkor stayed many days among the griots. Every morning he listened to the rise and fall of stories like waves against the shore. At night, Kofi tested him with riddles. "I have towns without people, forests without trees, and rivers without water. What am I?" "A map!" Donkor shouted, grinning when Kofi laughed and clapped his hands. He learned proverbs, tongue twisters, and songs that held secrets within their words. He danced in the circles, drummed until his palms stung, and felt his spirit grow stronger. But even among laughter and song, Donkor could not forget his quest. One evening, as the fires crackled and fireflies drifted overhead, Kofi leaned closer. "Your journey must continue, Donkor. The kingdom that holds the riddle lies north, beyond plains and rivers. Seek it. And remember, wisdom is not in knowing all answers, but in knowing which questions to ask." Donkor embraced Kofi, tears pricking his eyes. "Thank you, my friend." The griots gathered to sing him farewell. Go with words like arrows. Go with songs like shields. May your spirit blaze like the rising sun. Donkor left the clearing, head held high. The night winds carried snatches of drums and laughter as he stepped onto the path once more. Donkor crossed grassy plains and waded through shallow rivers, his mind buzzing with riddles and songs. Birds wheeled overhead, cawing secrets he couldn't quite decipher. He journeyed northward, the road ever winding. One morning, just as the sun painted the sky in streaks of pink, Donkor heard a scream cutting through the stillness. "Help! Somebody help me!" He dashed toward the sound and burst into a small clearing. There, a woman struggled wildly as a massive python, thick as a tree trunk, wrapped around her waist and legs, its diamond-patterned skin glinting in the sunlight. "Hold on!" Donkor shouted. He grabbed a long branch and rushed the snake, swinging with all his might. The branch struck the serpent's coils, but the snake hissed, tightening its grip. The woman gasped out words between sobs. "Stranger, please me, son, is waiting for me." Donkor dropped the branch and snatched a burning log from a nearby cooking fire. He thrust the flames toward the snake's face. The serpent recoiled, uncoiling enough for the woman to scramble free. With a final hiss, the python slithered into the undergrowth and vanished. The woman collapsed onto the ground, sobbing in relief. Donkor knelt beside her. "Are you hurt, good woman?" She shook her head, wiping tears from her cheeks. Her face was beautiful, but marked with lines of sorrow, and her eyes held a depth of grief. "Thank you, stranger. My name is Nana Ya. You have saved my life." Donkor helped her to her feet. "I am Donkor. It was nothing. Are you alone here?" She nodded. "I am a widow. My husband died 2 harvests ago. I gather herbs and roots to sell at market. But today, I thought the gods had come for me." Donkor looked into her eyes and felt something stir a quiet admiration, respect for her courage. "Nanaya, I have journeyed long and far in search of a wife. Might you consider me?" Nanaya's lips parted in surprise. She glanced down, her fingers twisting the edge of her cloth. For a long moment, the only sound was the rustling of leaves. "Oh, Donkor," she said finally, voice soft as wind through grass. "You are a good man, brave, kind, but my heart belongs to the memory of my husband. Each night I speak to him in my dreams. I cannot give my love to another. It would feel like betrayal." Donkor lowered his eyes. "I understand." She reached out and squeezed his hand gently. "But you will find her, Donkor. The woman whose spirit matches yours, I am certain of it." He smiled sadly. "May the ancestors watch over you, Nana Ya." She gave him a small woven pouch. "Take this. Inside is dried sage. Burn it when you feel despair. It will drive away evil spirits." Donkor tucked the pouch into his bag. "Thank you." As he walked away, he glanced back and saw Nana Ya standing tall, the wind stirring her cloth around her like the wings of a bird. He whispered, "I will keep searching. The road is long, but my heart is stronger than before." And so Donkor journeyed on, his spirit both lighter and heavier all at once. The air grew hotter with every mile Donkor travelled northward. He left behind green forests and golden plains, moving toward a horizon where nothing but waves of heat shimmered under a blazing sun. Villagers he passed shook their heads. "You are mad, Donkor," they said. "Beyond lies the desert of red sand. Even camels stumble there." But Donkor pressed on, determined. On the 3rd day, the trees vanished. Red dust curled around his feet. The ground felt like the skin of a hot drum. Sweat poured from his scalp, soaking his cloth. His lips cracked, and each breath burned his chest. The desert seemed endless. The sun was a monstrous eye watching him from the sky, never blinking. By dusk of the 4th day, Donkor's knees gave way. He fell to the sand, eyes half closed. "Is this how my journey ends?" he whispered. "Not by laughter, nor witches, nor kings, but by thirst?" He closed his eyes, but faintly, Through the whistle of wind, he heard singing a rhythmic chant that rose and fell like waves. He forced his eyes open and saw dark shapes moving on the horizon. Camels! A caravan approached, robes of bright indigo flapping around the riders. A man leapt down beside Donkor, his skin glistening with sweat, his eyes keen and gentle. "Brother, drink," he said in Hausa, pressing a water gourd to Donkor's lips. Cool water flooded Donkor's mouth. He coughed and gasped. "Bless you," he croaked. "You have saved me." The man smiled. "I am Salihu of the desert people. What business brings you here, traveller?" Donkor sat up, trembling. "I seek a kingdom where lies a riddle no man has solved for 1,000 years. They say the man who answers it shall marry a merchant's daughter." Salihu nodded slowly. "Ah, I know of the kingdom you speak of. It lies beyond the great red dunes. But the desert must be crossed carefully, else you vanish like smoke." Donkor's eyes shone. "Take me there, Salihu. I must reach that kingdom." Salihu studied him a long moment, then chuckled. "You have the eyes of a man who will not turn back. Very well, you may travel with us." For the next days, Donkor rode a camel beside Salihu. The caravan moved like a long snake across the dunes, stopping by hidden wells known only to the desert people. At night, under skies ablaze with stars, Salihu told stories. Long ago, the desert was a woman named Azara. Her beauty was so great that even the spirits envied her. One day she turned her tears into sand, and that is why this desert is red. Donkor listened, marveling at the wisdom wrapped in stories. On the 7th day, they reached the edge of the kingdom. A great walled city loomed ahead, its towers catching the sunrise in gleaming bronze. "This is as far as we go, Donkor," Salihu said. "May your riddles bring you fortune." Donkor clasped his hand. "May the spirits guide your steps, Salihu." With new hope blazing in his chest, Donkor stepped toward the gates of the kingdom. Donkor passed under towering gates, carved with swirling patterns. Merchants bustled about, shouting prices for salt, silk, and spices. The city air was fragrant with incense and roasted meat. But his ragged clothes and dusty face drew suspicious glances. Guards patrolled the streets, eyes sharp under feathered helmets. Donkor wandered, gazing in wonder at towers painted in bright reds and yellows. He followed the scent of fried fish toward the market, imagining the face of his future wife. Suddenly, a heavy hand clamped onto his shoulder. "You there!" barked a soldier, his breastplate gleaming. "Where is your pass?" Donkor turned, startled. "Pass? I have none. I'm a traveller." The guard scowled. "No traveller enters without permission. Come with me." Before Donkor could protest, 2 more guards seized his arms. They dragged him through twisting alleys until they reached a courtyard paved with polished stone. There, a man in rich purple robes sat on a stool, scribbling onto a parchment. "Name?" the scribe demanded. "Donkor," he said, voice shaking. "I mean no harm. I seek only—" "No papers, no coin," the scribe interrupted. "You are a spy or a thief." "I am neither." "Silence," barked one guard. "Your punishment is slavery." Donkor's stomach lurched. "Wait, you cannot!" But ropes were thrown around his wrists. He was marched alongside others, men and women, with hollow ice to the slave auction held in the market square. Drums pounded as buyers gathered, inspecting the captives. Donkor kept his chin high, though shame clawed at him like a beast. He thought of his village, his mother, the promise of a bride, and felt tears prick his eyes. A fat man in a red hat stepped forward. "I'll take this one," he grunted, jabbing a finger at Donkor. "Strong arms, good for the king's fields." Coins clinked. Donkor was shoved into a cart and driven out to the royal farms beyond the city walls. For weeks he laboured under the burning sun, hoeing rows of millet and carrying heavy bundles of sugarcane. His hands bled, blisters wept. Each night he fell asleep on a mat of dry grass, dreaming of riddles and the woman he sought. One evening, while Donkor chopped weeds around a royal compound, he heard voices arguing nearby. "The king demands the answer by sunrise," one voice said. "No one knows it," said another. "He'll be furious." Donkor lifted his head. He crept closer until he glimpsed two royal advisers beneath a palm tree, frowning over a scroll. "Here it is," one adviser read aloud. "I am born in silence but devour all sound. I bring darkness though I have no form. What am I?" Donkor whispered under his breath. "Sleep." The advisers spun around, startled. "What did you say, slave?" Donkor swallowed. "Sleep. That is your answer." The older adviser's eyes widened. "By the gods, that is correct." They seized him by the arm. "Come with us. The king must hear of this." Donkor stumbled through the palace gates, heart pounding. He realized that, even in chains, his mind was free and his journey was far from over. Guards escorted Donkor through vast marble corridors, where mosaics glittered in torchlight like spilled treasure. The palace smelled of sandalwood and roasted meats. Servants scurried past, carrying baskets of fruit or silk cloths embroidered with gold. Donkor's heart hammered in his chest. He was a slave, still dusty and in torn clothes, yet he was being led into the chambers of the king. Finally, they reached an enormous hall. Pillars of carved ebony rose toward a ceiling painted with swirling constellations. At the far end sat the king himself, a man, robed in red and gold, with a crown shaped like the rising sun. His beard was braided with golden rings. Around him stood advisers, soldiers, and nobles, all whispering anxiously. A guard shouted, "Your Majesty! We bring you the slave who solved the riddle." The king raised an eyebrow. His voice was deep and commanding. "Bring him closer." Donkor stepped forward, dropping to his knees. "Great king, I am but a humble traveller." The king leaned forward. "They say you solved the riddle no man could answer. Speak the answer." Donkor lifted his eyes. "The answer is sleep, O king. It is born in silence, devours sound, and brings darkness though it has no form." A ripple of gasps spread through the court. The king stared for a long moment, then burst out La Finger rich, thunderous sound. "Ha! You are correct. Even my wisest men could not answer. What is your name, traveller?" "I am Donkor, son of Quabena, from the village near the Forest of Shadows." The king's eyes twinkled. "Donkor, you are no ordinary man. Tell me, why did you come to my kingdom?" Donkor took a deep breath. "I seek a wife, my lord. My travels have been long and filled with trials. I heard that in your kingdom lies a riddle 1,000 years old, and that whoever solves it shall marry the daughter of the wealthiest merchant." The king nodded slowly. "Indeed, Kwame the merchant promised his daughter's hand to the man who could answer the ancient Ridley riddle older than our kingdom itself. Many have tried, all have failed." Donkor swallowed. Then let me try. The court erupted in murmurs. Advisers exchanged worried glances. One old minister stepped forward. Your Majesty, the last man who tried nearly lost his mind. This riddle is cursed. The king raised a hand. Silence! Let the young man try. He beckoned to a scribe who carried an ancient scroll. The scribe unrolled it reverently and read aloud, I have no tongue, yet tell all things. I have no wings, yet fly on winds. I can be gentle as a dove or fierce as a lion's roar. I live in every land, yet cannot be touched. What am I? The hall fell utterly silent. Donkor closed his eyes, thinking of the griots, of riddles and stories whispered beside fires. He pictured the sound of songs, the way words travelled across distances unseen. He opened his eyes. The answer is a voice. Gasps filled the chamber. The king's mouth fell open. He slapped his knee and shouted, Excellent! Excellent indeed! He leapt to his feet, laughing so hard tears ran down his cheeks. Donkor, son of Quabena, you have solved the ancient riddle. You shall be rewarded beyond measure. Kwame, the merchant, stepped forward, a stout man wearing cloths heavy with gold thread. His face was both joyful and anxious. Your Majesty, a promise is a promise. My daughter shall marry this man. The king nodded. It is settled. Donkor's head spun. He who had been mocked, enslaved, and beaten down was now promised a bride and riches beyond imagining. But amid the joy, a small voice whispered in his heart, Your journey is not yet over. Preparations for the wedding began the very next day. Couriers ran through the city, carrying messages and baskets filled with gifts. Drummers rehearsed thunderous rhythms. Women dyed cloth in brilliant reds and yellows, which they hung to dry between palace courtyards like rivers of colour. Donkor stood in a new robe of indigo cloth, its pattern woven with silver thread. His hair was oiled and braided, and gold rings glinted at his wrists. The king summoned him to a grand courtyard shaded by flowering trees. Musicians played soft melodies on flutes. Beside the king stood Kwame the merchant, grinning so wide that his gold teeth flashed like coins. Donkor, bellowed the king, come forward and meet the woman you have earned with your wisdom. Donkor approached, his heart thudding like a drum. At the king's gesture, a slender woman stepped from behind a silken curtain. She wore a gown of red silk that shimmered in the sunlight. Her hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall of obsidian. Golden earrings swayed at her ears, shaped like tiny suns. But it was her eyes that stunned Donkor bright as dawn, filled with curiosity and quiet strength. Donkor, this is Abena, said Kwame, my only daughter. Abena lowered her eyes modestly, but a small smile played on her lips. Donkor swallowed hard. It is an honor to meet you, Abena. She met his gaze. Her voice was gentle but firm. And it is an honor to meet the man brave enough to solve the riddle that defeated so many. Kwame clapped Donkor's shoulder. She is wise, skilled in the arts, and manages my accounts better than my scribes. You are lucky indeed. Abena spoke again. Donkor, may I ask you a question? Of course. Why have you searched so long for a wife? Donkor thought for a moment, then said, Because I believe a man's journey is not complete until he finds the one whose spirit matches his. I have met many beautiful women, but beauty alone is not enough. I wanted someone whose heart beat in harmony with mine. Abena's smile widened. That is a wise answer. Kwame, ever the merchant, jumped in. Now that you are to marry Donkor, you shall work with me in my trade. Together we will be the wealthiest men in the kingdom. But Abina held up a hand. Father, let Donkor speak for himself. Perhaps his path is not in gold and cloth alone. Donkor chuckled. Thank you, Abina. My heart is with you. But let us see where our paths lead. I wish only for a partner to walk beside me. Kwame looked mildly offended. Gold is always the best path. The king roared with laughter. Let the young people choose their way. A feast was held that evening. Drummers played wild rhythms while dancers spun, leaping like gazelles. Platters of roasted goat and fish filled the tables. Spices perfumed the air. Abena and Donkor sat beside each other, talking quietly amid the noise. I have heard of your travels, Abena said, and of the trials you faced. Are you not afraid the road will test us again? Donkor looked into her eyes. I would rather face 1,000 dangers beside you than live in safety alone. Abena reached over and touched his hand. Then let us be brave together. Above them, stars bloomed in the velvet sky, as though blessing the joining of two souls. But far away, beyond the city walls, dark clouds gathered warning that Donkor's trials were not yet over. A week of celebration filled the kingdom. Drummers played until dawn. Markets overflowed with traders eager to see the man who solved the 1,000-year riddle. Poets composed verses praising Donkor's cleverness, and elders declared his tale would be sung for generations. At dawn one morning, Donkor and Abena stood before the king to take their leave. The palace courtyard shimmered in the rising sun, its stones washed with gold light. The king embraced Donkor. Go in peace, my son. You came here in rags, and you leave as a hero. May your journey be smooth. Kwame, the merchant, pressed heavy sacks into Donkor's hands. Gold, cowries, spices, take these. If my daughter is to travel, she travels in comfort. Abena rolled her eyes. Father, it's not the weight of gold that makes the journey safe. Kwame harumphed. Gold buys many things, including safety. Abena clasped her father's hands. I will return to visit, but now my place is with Donkor. A hush fell over the crowd as Donkor and Abena stepped through the palace gates. Abena wore a flowing indigo cloth, embroidered with golden patterns of the rising sun. She carried a small bag slung over her shoulder, her face serene yet curious. As they left the city behind, merchants waved, calling, Safe travels, wise Donkor. Bring back tales of your homeland, Abena. Donkor smiled and waved, but deep inside, his heart thudded with caution. He had travelled long enough to know that every road hides unseen dangers. By nightfall, they reached the edge of the red desert, where they made camp beneath a lone acacia tree. A full moon cast silver light across the dunes. Abena leaned against Donkor, her head on his shoulder. This desert, it's beautiful and terrifying all at once. Donkor gazed at the stars. I nearly died crossing it before. It has many secrets. Abena lifted her head. Tell me, did you ever think of giving up? Donkor thought of Amma's laughter, Adwowa's witchcraft, Afia's solemn vow, the snake that nearly crushed Nanaya. He let out a slow breath. Yes, many times. But something always pushed me forward, a voice in my heart, saying my journey wasn't over. Abena squeezed his hand. I'm glad you listened to it. They sat in silence, listening to the whisper of sand moving under the wind. Then Abena chuckled softly. "What's funny?" Donkor asked. She grinned. "I was wondering how my father will cope without me ordering the merchants around." Donkor laughed. "He'll survive, and besides, I suspect he'll send messengers every moon." Abena sighed, gazing at the moon. "Whatever challenges come, I want to face them together." Donkor pulled her close. "We will." But as they lay down to sleep, Donkor heard rustling beyond the acacia tree. A faint hiss drifted on the breeze. He stared into the darkness, hand resting on the dagger he now carried. For even in triumph, he knew danger walked the world. The next day dawned hot and harsh. Donkor and Abena mounted camels, gifted to them by Salihu's caravan, and set off deeper into the dunes. By midday, the wind screamed around them, blowing stinging sand into their eyes. They wrapped cloths over their faces. Donkor guided his camel carefully, remembering Salihu's warnings. "Never trust a dune. It shifts like a serpent, swallowing travellers whole." Suddenly, a shout rang out. "Halt!" Out from behind a dune swept half a dozen riders, turbans wound around their faces, eyes glittering like desert jewels. Swords flashed in the sun. One man, taller than the rest, pointed his blade at Donkor. "Give us your goods," he snarled, "or we'll take the man your lives." Donkor felt Abena tense beside him. He held out a hand. "Brothers, we carry only enough for our journey. Let us pass." The leader scoffed. "Lies! I see gold peeking from your sacks. Dismount. Now!" Abena glared at the bandit leader. "Is this how men of the desert show hospitality?" One bandit chuckled. "Pretty words from a pretty woman." The leader dismounted and strode forward. He seized Abena's camel reins. "Perhaps we'll keep you instead of your gold." Abena's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Unhand me!" Donkor felt rage boil in his chest. He leapt from his camel and blocked the bandit's path. "Touch her again, and you'll taste the edge of my blade." The leader threw back his turban, revealing a scarred face. "So the clever man wants to play hero. Kill him." Two bandits charged forward, swords swinging. Donkor ducked the first blow, grabbed a handful of sand, and flung it into his attacker's eyes. The man screamed, stumbling back. Donkor seized his fallen sword and turned to meet the second bandit. Steel clashed. Donkor parried wildly, adrenaline roaring in his ears. Abena, meanwhile, kicked her captor hard in the stomach. The man doubled over as Abena snatched Donkor's dagger from his belt and pressed it to his throat. "Back away!" she shouted. The bandits hesitated, blinking at the furious woman with the blade. Donkor faced the leader, breathing hard. "Leave us in peace." But the leader sneered. "We're not leaving without tribute." Abena stepped forward, eyes blazing. "Tribute! Here's tribute!" She hurled a small leather pouch at the leader's feet. It burst open, releasing a cloud of white powder. The bandits coughed and staggered back. "Pepper dust," Donkor gasped, laughing in surprise. Abena grinned. "My father trades in spices. I learned a few tricks." Donkor grabbed Abena's hand. "Mount up!" They scrambled onto their camels and spurred them into a gallop. Behind them, the bandits shrieked, clawing at streaming eyes. When at last they slowed, Abena turned to Donkor, her cheeks flushed. "Think your journey would be boring with me?" Donkor grinned. "I'd rather fight 1,000 bandits beside you than face the world alone." They laughed together, though Donkor's eyes were wary, for he knew the desert held more dangers yet. After fleeing the bandits, Donkor and Abena pressed onward, the desert gradually giving way to dry grasslands. Each mile brought fresher air, and trees dotted the horizon like green oases. By the third day, they reached a place Donkor recognized as a region near the River of Whispers, named for the strange murmuring that rose from its waters. He and Abena dismounted beside the riverbank under a grove of baobab trees. Abena cupped water in her hands, letting it run through her fingers. "This place, it feels alive." Donkor nodded. "It is alive. My mother used to say the river carries the voices of ancestors. People come here to seek visions." Abena tilted her head, listening. Faintly, over the gentle splash of water, came soft whispers. "Return, return. The journey leads home." Abena shivered. "Did you hear that?" Donkor sat down beside her. "Yes, the river speaks in riddles. Some say it can reveal your future, your deepest fear." Abena peered into the shimmering surface. "Do you ever wonder what might have happened if you'd married someone else?" Donkor looked at her with gentle eyes. "Sometimes. But every path led me here. To you." Abena blushed, reaching for his hand. "I'm grateful for that." As they sat, an old woman appeared on the opposite bank. Her hair was white as cotton, and she wore beads of cowries and leopard claws. She raised a gnarled staff, chanting softly. Donkor rose. "That's a river priestess." Abena stared. "What is she saying?" The priestess's voice carried over the water. "Two hearts bound by riddles and roads must face one final trial. The spirits watch. The river knows. Love survives the Nile." Donkor's brow furrowed. "What trial?" But the priestess faded into shimmering mist, as though the river swallowed her whole. Abena trembled slightly. "Donkor, I'm afraid." He pulled her into his arms. "We've crossed deserts, outwitted bandits, solved riddles. Whatever awaits us, we'll face it side by side." Abena laid her head on his chest, her voice barely a whisper. "I believe you." Yet, as dusk fell, shadows stretched longer across the river. In the murmuring water, the whispers grew louder. "Beware, beware. The path home holds danger still." Donkor stared into the gathering night, gripping Abena's hand. He realized that, though he was close to home, the hardest part of his journey might lie just ahead. At sunrise, Donkor and Abena continued their journey. Birds sang overhead, palms swayed in gentle breezes scented with blossoms. Each step felt lighter, for Donkor knew they were nearing his village. By noon, they crested a hilland. Donkor stopped short. There, nestled beside a great forest, lay his home. The same red clay huts, the same paths winding between fields of cassava and maize. Smoke curled from cooking fires, and distant drumming echoed faintly. Abena squeezed his arm. "Your village, it's beautiful." Donkor swallowed hard. "I never thought I'd see it again." As they descended the hill, villagers noticed them. Children paused in their games. Women stopped pounding fufu. Shouts of surprise rang out. "Donkor! Donkor has returned! And he brings a beautiful woman." Donkor's mother, wrapped in a bright yellow cloth, came running, tears streaming down her face. She threw her arms around him. My son, I thought the spirits had taken you." Donkor hugged her tightly. "I am home, mother." She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "And who is this lovely woman beside you?" Donkor smiled, his voice strong. "This is Abena, My wife. Abena bowed respectfully. Mother, it is my honor. Donkor's mother blinked in surprise. A wife! And so beautiful, like the morning sun. You must tell me everything. The villagers crowded closer, eager to hear tales of Donkor's journey. Drummers gathered and began playing, the beat rising like a pulse through the crowd. An elder approached, leaning on a carved staff. Donkor, he said gravely, many have travelled far, but few return with wisdom. Tell us your story. Donkor took a deep breath, his arm around Abena's shoulders, and he told them everything. The scorn of Amma, the witchcraft of Adwoa, the wisdom of the moon priestess, the caravans through the desert, the riddles of the king, the bandits in the dunes, and the river of whispers. When he spoke of Abena's courage, fighting the bandits and hurling pepper dust in their eyes, the villagers roared with laughter and clapped in delight. The elder nodded solemnly. A journey such as yours, Donkor, is a path laid out by the ancestors. It was not merely a search for a wife. It was a test of spirit. You have brought honor to your name. Donkor's mother leaned forward. But tell me, Donkor, why did you never settle for those other women? Donkor looked at Abena, his eyes shining. Because each taught me something, but none was my true spirit's twin. Abena is my equal wise, brave, and with a heart fierce as the lion's. She completes my journey. Abena smiled, eyes wet with tears. And I am blessed to have a husband whose courage and kindness light every road. The elder raised his staff. Then let it be known, Donkor and Abena shall be honored as son and daughter of this village. Tonight we feast in your name. Drummers began a jubilant rhythm. Women broke into dance, cloth swirling around them like waves. Children laughed and ran circles around Donkor and Abena. As night fell, stars filled the sky, and the village gathered around a great fire. The elder began to chant, from distant lands and desert sands, to rivers wise and old. A man returned with love so grand, more precious far than gold. Abena leaned close, whispering, Are you happy, Donkor? Donkor looked into her eyes. Happier than I ever dreamed, for I have found not just a wife, but my true partner, my home. Abena touched his cheek. And wherever we walk, we will make that home together. Above them, the stars shimmered, and the drums beat on into the nighter, song of journeys ended, of love found, and of the stories that would live forever in the hearts of the people. And so ended Donkor's long search. In the warmth of firelight and the joy of a village reborn with tales of courage and lover fitting close to the story that would be told for generations to come.